Today, we'll talk about four-person flag football officiating mechanics. As we get deeper in the playoffs here in North Carolina, we are transitioning to four-person officiating crews on the field. And four-person crews are used at a variety of levels, a variety of states. But as always, check with your local association, your region, your state to see if things may be different in your area. But let's get into four-person mechanics. For a four-person crew, we have our referee. They are primarily responsible for the passer and blocking behind the line of scrimmage. We have our line judge, who is sideline oriented. They're watching the neutral zone, that initial blocking, and the runner. They're trying to stay even with the runner throughout most of the play. Our field judge, that's our new official added to the crew from a three-person crew. That field judge is on the sideline opposite the line judge. They have a primary responsibility for the zone to gain or the first down line, as well as receivers down the field on the field judge side. And then our back judge, now in a four-person crew, looks very similar to a back judge you think of in tackle football. So the back judge is in the middle of the field. They have responsibility to stay deeper than everybody, and as well as the goal line and receivers on the line judge side and deep passing routes. Now let's move on to initial positioning. You'll see that we do have four officials now on the field. We'll start with our referee. Our referee remains in the same spot as they do in a three-person crew. They are 7 yards wide and 7 yards deep of the deepest offensive back. Generally, it's the offensive back we expect to receive the snap, and their goal is to stay 7 yards wide and deep of whoever has the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Next up, we have our line judge. And again, it looks very similar to a three-person crew. The line judge is on the sideline opposite the referee, and they are straddling the neutral zone. So if you're using the orange and yellow pucks, generally they'll have 1 foot on the orange puck to line up the offense and 1 foot on the yellow puck to line up the defense. And they are responsible for any encroachments, false starts across the line of scrimmage before the snap. Our field judge is our new official. Our field judge is on the opposite sideline as the line judge, and their home base is 10 yards downfield on the sideline. Now, that positioning may change depending on our situation, especially on third and fourth down, and we'll talk about that. But home base is 10 yards down the field. Finally, our back judge. Our back judge is staying deeper than the deepest. That is the number one rule of back judges: don't get beat deep. So they are at least 20 yards downfield. That's kind of home base. But if we do have defenders that say a safety is lined up, 25 yards downfield, expecting a deep pass, the back judge would start a step or two behind that deepest player. And they are going to shade towards the line judge side of the field. If the field has hash marks on it, they want to start about the hash mark on the line judge side. If there's no hash marks, they just want to shade a little bit toward that line judge side because their initial keys will be on that line judge side. So that's what we look like in a four-person crew for initial positioning. Now let's get into pre-snap. So before the ball is snapped for our referee, most of it looks the same. We still have our ready for play whistle. So our referee will blow the ready for play whistle to start the play clock. At that point, the ball can be snapped legally. The referee and the line judge are going to count the offense together. And like all of our officials, when we say count, that means not only checking that we have 7 players on the field, but we are not necessarily counting players. We're counting flag belts, right? So we want to make sure that as we're counting the players that have a flag belt, that those flag belts are on properly. This is the time to catch, that maybe a shirt untucked over top of a flag belt, a player missing a flag belt, flags not on the hips, all of those sorts of things. The referee times the play clock. So we have a 25-second play clock that will start at the ready for play. It's a good idea for referees to have a watch to be able to hit start on the stopwatch for the play clock. They will also count down when we get to 10 and to 5 to alert our offense that the play clock is about to expire. They're watching for shifts and motions that can help with false starts, especially from backs. All of those things they're looking for pre-snap. As we move to our line judge again is counting the offense with our referee. And then they have everything on a neutral zone. So they're getting the players lined up. If we have a player on offense that get set over the orange cone so they are in the neutral zone. They want to help back them up. Same thing with the defense if they're over the yellow cone. Line judge has primary responsibility all the way across the field for encroachments, false starts, anything having to do with the neutral zone. They also are primary for shifts and motions to make sure we don't have a player moving toward the line of scrimmage at the snap, and to make sure if we have at least two players moving for a shift that everybody gets set for at least 1 second before the snap. They also are going to have primary for making sure that is a legal snap, right? So sometimes you'll see that the center, the snapper, will kind of double clutch the snap. Likely our line judge is going to have the best view of that. They also need to keep an eye on substitutions coming off of their sideline. Our field judge, you see a smaller list for our field judge and our back judge. Our field judge is counting the defense with the back judge. They're also going to be responsible for any substitution action coming off of their sideline. But that's really about it pre-snap. Aside from that, again, counting defense, making sure flag belts are on properly. They are then starting to read the offensive formation to see who their keys are going to be to start the play. Our back judge, counting the defense, and then they have responsibility for the game clock. So referee has play clock, back judge has game clock. Now we may be using a game clock, a scoreboard as well, but their official time should be kept by the back judge. So making sure that that is operating properly. Once we get into, depending on the state adaptations, the state rules, once we get into stop clock time, the back judge should be announcing status of the clock and the time remaining every single play so that everyone is aware. All right, so that is pre-snap. Now, let's talk about our keys, right? So keys are important. When we talk about keys, we're really talking about at the snap, it's where's our first look, right? So who should we be watching initially? And then once we have the snap and the play starts to develop, we're going to start to read the play, right? We're going to read whether it's a run, whether it's a pass, whether it might be a deep pass if we have routes that are going deep, right? So we're going to start to shift our focus depending on what we read. But initially, let's talk about keys and kind of how we handle running and passing from each position. So as a referee at the snap, our keys are that snap and the quarterback, right? So when we say the snap, that means making sure that the snap doesn't hit the if right? We know if the snap hits the ground, the ball's dead at that spot. And then the quarterback, right? So we're trying to maintain that 7-7 from whoever has the ball behind the line of scrimmage. So if the quarterback starts to roll to one side or the other, we're going to roll with them to maintain that 7-7. We also then, if we read run play, we're going to start to pick up the runner and then blocking behind the line of scrimmage, right? So we have main responsibility for the quarterback, and then we have main responsibility for blocking behind the line of scrimmage. We also will take care of getting a forward progress spot behind the line of scrimmage. We also will take care of potentially a forward or backward pass call behind the line of scrimmage, right? So all of that's going to be our referee. And then if we do read pass, again, that blocking is important for us. We're watching rushers coming to the quarterback, judging whether or not we have a sack or the ball's away. And then also, if we have a pass that is close to the line of scrimmage, we'll talk about that here in a minute. But primarily as a referee, the passer is your baby. We're going to take care of the passer. And we're going to watch blocking behind the line of scrimmage because that's where we tend to see a lot of contact. As a line judge, at the snap, our keys are that initial rush. So since we have two officials in the defensive backfield to help us with receivers, our initial keys are that initial rush. So we're watching that snap, and then we're watching the center, the snapper, and then the linemen that are trying to set screen blocks on the line of scrimmage. We want to see that initial crossing of offensive players and defensive players. And we can pause on that a little bit longer here in 4-person crew than a 3-person crew because we have more help on the back end. So we want to take primary responsibility for the initial rush along the line of scrimmage. Our referee can help. But once our rushers get into the backfield, At that point, we can release some of that to our referee. But that initial rush is where we see a lot of contact calls. If we do read run, right? So we read a running play. We want to hold our position, and then we're going to watch that runner. We're really going to take over that runner as they uh, cross the line of scrimmage, and we're going to try and stay even with that runner to rule on backward passes, to rule on forward progress. Those are all going to be our primary responsibility as a line judge. We are going to have the bulk of the whistles at line judge because we are trying to stay even with that runner. Then, if we do read pass, we can start to take a few steps downfield, and we will help with passes that are short all the way across the field. We also need to take responsibility for our sideline all the way down the field. So, those are our keys at line judge, pretty similar to what we do in 3-person, with the exception that we do have more help in the back end. So, we want to focus in on that initial rush for a longer period of time. All right, our field judge. So that's our new official here in a 4-person crew. At the snap, the keys for our field judge are going to be receivers on the field judge side of the field, right? So we want to look for, any illegal contact on them as they are starting their pass routes, and then we start to read the play, right? As a field judge, if we read run, we want to lead the play down the field. So our line judge is kind of even with or just a step behind our runner. Our field judge should be ahead of our runner. So our field judge is primarily looking for those screen blockers and that action ahead of our runners across the field. If we read pass, we're going to read those pass routes then and try to get in the best position to see the play, right? So we're trying to see the space in between players. And generally, we want to lead the play. So as our receivers are making their way down the field on our side as the field judge, we do want to get deeper unless we have a third or fourth down and the line to gain is threatened. We'll talk about that here soon. And just a reminder, as a field judge, we do have that sideline all the way down the field. Our referee can help if, say, we have the quarterback scrambling to the field judge sideline behind the line of scrimmage. A referee can certainly help as they have primary on the quarterback. But field judge, you have the best look all the way down to see if somebody steps out of bounds. And then finally, our back judge. So again, our back judge is in the middle of the field. We have an inside out look here. And you'll hear us talk about philosophy that our back judge and our referee both have an inside out look, right? They want to stay towards the center of the field if possible because they can help with, flag guarding on the inside arm. And they're going to get a different look than the field judge and the line judge who have an outside in look. Our back judge, at the snap, the keys. We're going to read the receivers on the line judge side, right? So at the snap, that's where our eyes should go. So we don't care about strength of formation like we do in tackle football. In flag football, our eyes should go to the receivers on the line judge side first. Make sure there's no illegal contact on them. Use them to help read the play. Then we transition. If we do read run, right, we want to stay engaged in the play. We don't need to retreat unless the defenders start to retreat, right? We do need to stay deeper behind the deepest. So no matter what, if we have receivers or defenders that go deeper on the field than us, we need to back up. But we want to try and help as much as possible on the runs and not get too far downfield. So if we do read run, we're going to also help pick up the blockers ahead of the runner. And we certainly are going to continue to stay ahead of that play, right, all the way to the goal line. If we read pass, similar to a field judge, we need to stay deep, and we're going to read the pass routes and then focus in on the area of where the pass is going. We're trying to get in a position to see space between players to help judge on potential pass interference, incomplete, complete pass, those types of things. We also have goal line responsibility unless we get down into inside the 14-yard line, which we'll talk about. We also have the end line at all times. So on a deep pass play, if it's thrown into the end zone, we need to figure out which line that pass is threatening, get to that line to help rule on that play. Again, the primary thing you'll hear about back judge, do not get beat deep. But as a back judge, since you have that inside out look, you can certainly help with down the field with blocking and especially flag guarding that takes place on the inside arm. That's going to be tough for a wing official to see. All right, let's talk about a run play. So, as you can see here, we have the quarterback gets the snap and then takes off on a run to the left down the field, and maybe gains about 20 yards here. So this is a basic run play. Our referee is going to try to stay 7-7 with that quarterback, right? So they're going to move. They're going to run up to the line of scrimmage and follow that runner. Now, the referee isn't going to keep going downfield. Once that runner crosses the line of scrimmage, we're going to give up the runner to the line judge. The referee is going to hang out right around the pucks in the neutral zone, but still keeping that inside out look. Our line judge, since we read run, we're sticking on the line of scrimmage until the ball crosses. Once that runner crosses the line of scrimmage, we are trying to stay even or just a step behind that runner. We have primary responsibility for forward progress and fouls on the runner, flag guarding on the runner, and potentially any ruling on a forward or backward pass. And again, as you can see here, we're going to have the whistle because we have forward progress. Back judge and field judge, we're leading that play. We're staying ahead of the play, and we are picking up any screen blocking going on here. So this is a pretty easy run play here in a 4-person crew. Now let's move on to a basic pass play. So on this play, our quarterback gets the snap and then rolls out to the right, throws a deep pass downfield, and it looks like we gain, about 20, 30 yards here, somewhere in between. So this is a little bit of a deeper pass play. So again, our referee is going to roll with our quarterback, maintaining that 7-7. So the referee is going to go to the right because our quarterback is rolling to the right. Once that pass is thrown, our referee then is going to make sure that we don't have roughing the passer, and then is going to start to move towards the pucks. Our line judge, since we read pass here, first we're watching that initial rush, right? That's our primary responsibility, that initial rush of blockers. Then since we read pass, it's okay for us to start taking a few steps downfield, watching those short passing routes and reading the play. Once that ball is thrown, we see it's thrown deep, then we're hustling downfield. Our goal is to try and get back to even with our runner, right? Our field judge, at the snap, we have primary for the receivers on our side of the field. So since this receiver that catches the pass is on the field judge side, this is a field judge primary play, right? Our field judge is going to retreat to stay in a good position to watch that receiver and that matchup. And then they're going to have primary responsibility for this catch, no catch, and potential pass interference. Since we have a deep play here, our field judge is good to go ahead and take that forward progress spot. You see, they have the whistle, right? So field judges on deeper plays, you can get that forward progress spot. Then you're going to pass it off to our line judge, who's going to give it to our referee. Back judge, we're staying deep, right? Now we can't quite see how deep defenders get here, but on this play, we're staying deep and then we're reading the play. We also should have a look on this catch or no catch, right? Because we're deep. We initially read the receivers on the line judge side, but then as the pass, as we see the pass going towards the field judge side, we're going to shift our focus to help with the primary coverage on this passing play. And we are going to remain deep, and had this runner caught the ball and run to the goal line, we would be sitting on the goal line to rule on a potential touchdown. All right, this next play, it's a pass, but it's a pass where the quarterback throws the ball from near the line of scrimmage. So initially, everything's the same here. Our referee is rolling with our quarterback, except this time our quarterback is moving forward and appears to cross the neutral zone and then throw the pass, right? A legal forward pass right around the line of scrimmage, specifically, especially if it's from our quarterback, is a referee call. Our referee needs to be able to walk up, run up to where the passer throws the ball, and then see from that spot if they are across the neutral zone. If they are clearly across the neutral zone, referee should have a flag for a legal forward pass. Now, line judges, we can help here. But again, if we read pass, a line judge, we should be taking a few steps downfield. So we may not be on that line of scrimmage to rule on that pass or crossing. So referees, we need to stay with the quarterback. They throw the ball near the orange puck. That is our primary responsibility to rule whether or not we have an illegal forward pass. Everything else on this play is the same as the last one. It's a deeper pass. Field judge is leading the play. Is going to have the whistle here. Back judge is staying deep. Line judge, once the pass is thrown, hustling downfield and trying to get even again. Let's talk about backward passes, right? So, and we have a pass play here. Quarterback throws the ball downfield. Looks like it is about a 20-yard pass. And then that runner catches the ball, runs further downfield, then throws a backward pass. And then that runner is deflagged here just inside the 20-yard line, right? So again, our key is referee has the quarterback, line judge watching that initial rush, and then once that pass is thrown, we're working on to get downfield. Field judge, we're leading the play, right? And our back judge, this would primarily be a back judge play as far as the initial catch goes, right? We have a receiver on the line judge side of the field. So our back judge, we continue to retreat to stay ahead of the play, but our primary responsibility would be this catch, potential pass interference, anything going on with this catch, right? Once the ball is caught, back judge gets to the goal line. Field judge is leading the play, line judge trying to catch up, right? Now let's talk about the backward pass. We must have either a back call by one of our wings, or we should have a flag on the ground for an illegal forward pass downfield, right? We need to have a call one way or the other. Since this is a deeper play, our field judge can help out with our back or illegal forward pass call, right? Even though it's across the field, I would say probably 75-80% of our passes downfield are going to have a call from our line judge. But since our line judge is so far away from this one, likely when it's thrown, our back judge can help with a back call here, right? So we see back from our field judge, should it be punching back as well? And then our line judge is hustling down and is going to end up getting the forward progress spot, right? If our line judge is in a position caught up with the play, normally any play within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage, line judge is likely going to have the back or the illegal forward pass call. Deeper downfield, field judge can help out, but we do need to make sure we have a call from one of our wings. All right, third and fourth down. So we do have primary responsibility for the zone to gain line from our field judge in most cases here. And we say zone to gain, we're talking about our first down line, right? The caveat to that is that if we have a really short first down, so it is within 3 yards of the zone to gain, right? So we're snapping, this is the 40-yard line. We're snapping the ball, say here at the 38 maybe. So we're within 3 yards from the orange puck to the first down line. In that case, because it is so short, our line judge is going to take responsibility for that zone to gain. And immediately at the snap, they're going to move to that zone to gain. They're not going to leave that zone to gain until the ball crosses it. Right? So we are stationed at that zone to gain until the ball crosses, only on third and fourth down because that line is so important. All right? So that's a short first. Now we need to communicate that. Right? So line judges, you should be telling the field judge, my line, my line. That way the field judge knows that they can release downfield. In this case, our field judge starts at their normal 10 yards. Now let's say that we have a first down line that is within 4 to 14 yards. Right? So here we backed up a little bit. Maybe we're at the 34. So maybe you're 6 yards here to get to the 40. Since we're over that 3-yard threshold, our field judge is going to hold the responsibility for that zone to gain. And this is where we will adjust our position as the field judge. Instead of starting 10 yards downfield, on third and fourth down only, if we are between 4 and 14 yards of the zone to gain, the field judge starts on that first down line, the zone to gain line. and the field judge will stick on that line until the ball crosses it. So even if we have pass routes that go deeper downfield, field judge, third and fourth down, you are sticking on this zone to gain line until the ball crosses it, because this zone to gain line is too important to let go of. Now, let's say that it's maybe we're in double sticks, or it's a longer first down, right? So, maybe it's third, but they've got 25 yards to go. We don't need our field judge 25 yards downfield. In that case, we can start at a normal 10, but we need to make sure we get to that zone to gain before the ball crosses it, right? So if we see the play develop or we have a run, we need to lead the play and be at that zone to gain line when the ball crosses it. Again, communicate here between our field judge and our line judge. We should always know on third and fourth down who has the zone to gain. All right, moving on to punts. All right, so on a punt play here, for our referee, nothing really changes. We're announcing the choice. So on fourth downs, we need to ask the offense, do you want to go for it? Do you want to kick? And we do want to announce that to the defense, and especially if they're going to kick, give them a chance to substitute. Right? A lot of teams have a dedicated punt return team, or so they will substitute in a bunch of players for that squad. We do want to give them a couple of beats to allow that substitution to happen, based on the referee giving that announcement, right? And then at that point we're ensuring we get a legal snap. The kicker still needs to take the snap 2 yards back. They have 5 seconds to kick the ball. So the referee, you're counting that 5 seconds, really just telling them, hey, kick it. And then once the ball is kicked, we need to go to the spot of the kick in case we have a punt that goes out of bounds in the air, to be ready to spot our field judge or our line judge. So that's our referee. Our line judge. So for a line judge, we are on that neutral zone, same, snap, the same positioning as a normal scrimmage play. And we are responsible for making sure that neither the kicking team nor the receiving team, first of all, crosses in the neutral zone before the snap, but then also make sure they don't cross into the neutral zone before the kick, right? Because on the kick, nobody can cross the neutral zone until the ball is kicked. Once that ball is kicked and crosses the line of scrimmage, we then can start moving downfield. And we're going to help pick up the runner, but really we're going to help pick up the blockers ahead of the runner. So we sort of switch positions. On a normal scrimmage play, our field judge is the one that leads the play. Line judge is even with. On a punt, it's the opposite. We're going in the opposite direction. So the line judge is leading the play. The field judge is staying even with. And of course, we have the sideline. So if we happen to have a kick go out of bounds in the air, we are going to run down past where we think it went out of bounds, put our hand up, start walking back until our referee chops us in. Our field judge. We do adjust our positioning for a field judge on a punt. Instead of being 10 yards, we are going to start 5 yards ahead of the deepest receiver, right? So whoever that deepest return team receiver is, we're going to start 5 yards ahead of them. On a short kick, we are taking responsibility for that kick receiver, right? So a short kick, meaning it's a kick likely in front of us, right? So in that case, we're going to mark the end of the kick with a beanbag. We're going to make sure we don't have any kick catch interference. Make sure that they catch the kick, right? Or be ready to judge that it was touched and then hits the ground and is dead. And then we're going to pick up that runner. So we have forward progress. We sort of turn into the line judge on a scrimmage play, right? We're watching the runner, blocks around the runner, potential flag guarding, all of those things. We also have our sideline the entire play. And finally, our back judge. Our back judge is positioned a little bit differently than the normal play. So we're going to start still behind the deepest receiver, but we are going to widen out toward the line judge sideline, right? We want to get a nice wide view here. So we want to be at least 8 yards wider than that receiver in case they have to alter their path and don't move right into us. And on a deep kick, we are going to mark the end of the kick with the beanbag, take responsibility for that catch, and potential kick catch interference. Once the ball is caught, we're then transitioning to watching the blocks around the runner. Field judge is normally going to take the runner. but we're watching for blocks around the runner and any legality there. We also have responsibility for the goal line. So if that positioning puts us within 10 yards of the goal line, go ahead and just start on the goal line. Remember, if the ball crosses the goal line on a kick with the status of a kick, it's a touchback. Now let's talk about goal line mechanics. Once we get inside the 5 yard line, so we have less than 5 yards to go to the end zone. At this point, our line judge at the snap moved directly to the goal line, right? That goal line is the most important line on the field. Our field judge is already stationed at the goal line, right? So once we get inside the 14s, we'll talk about the field judge is at the goal line. The field judge has primary responsibility for the goal line all the way across the field, unless it's right in front of the line judge. But we want our line judge to get to the goal line to help immediately when we get inside 5 yards. The back judge is on the end line. The referee continues to take their normal responsibility. Now, as I mentioned, once we get inside the 14, so we're inside the X, the field judge go ahead and start on the goal line. So we don't need to start 10 yards deep and then move to the goal line. Just stick on that goal line, and you're on that goal line until the ball crosses it, right? Until the goal line is threatened. You're not going to move off of it. The back judge, once we get inside the 14, you have the end line the entire way, right? So we want to communicate this between at least our back judge, field judge, and line judge, just to make sure we all know who's responsible for which line. Again, as the line judge, we aren't getting straight to the goal line on this play, but say we have a running play, the line judge is still going to stay even with the runner and end up at the goal line when they cross. We want to defer primary responsibility for the goal line to the field judge. And unless it's a type of goal line play that threatens this sideline right in front of the line judge side. Field judges, we need to be strong with our decisions and our calls when it comes to goal lines and lines to gain. If it's a touchdown, come up strong with a touchdown signal and a whistle. If it's short, come up strong with a whistle, hand up for a dead ball, and short, yelling short, right? So we want to be strong as a field judge with these calls. And then coming out of the goal line, right? So reverse goal line, the offense is backed up near their own end zone. Once we, there's not a specific yard line for this, but as a referee, once you're 7-7 puts you in the end zone, at that point, we want to start thinking about moving to reverse goal line. Reverse goal line simply means that at the snap, our line judge is going to move backward and cover the goal line. Right? Again, the goal line is important, the end line is important, and we want to have an official on each, right? So the line judge would move backward to the goal line and is responsible to determine if we have a safety, right? Does the entire ball get out of the end zone or not? Our referee, once we move into reverse goal line, is stationed on the end line to watch to see if an offensive player with the ball steps on that end line for a safety. Field judge and back judge, nothing changes, but you do just want to note that with the line judge moving backwards, you may just have more space to cover, especially in the passing game. Now, something else is, say we're closer than maybe the 10-yard line for our snap. As a referee, if we can avoid moving all the way to the back line, let's do so. We may just be able to widen out a little bit on the goal line and keep that goal line longer, even if it's maybe not quite 7-7, right? Maybe we're 5 yards deep and 10 yards wide type of thing. Because if we're moving that far backwards, our line judge has to go a long ways back and we're getting out of position. We just don't, as a referee, ever want to start in the end zone. You're either starting on the goal line or you're starting on the end line. Make sure we are signaling reverse goal line mechanics, which is kind of a reverse false start signal to each other in this situation to make sure the line judge knows they need to go back and cover that goal line. All right, those are your basic 4-person flag football mechanics for NFHS high school flag football. I hope this was valuable. If it was, please like, subscribe, and comment. And good luck as we get deeper in the flag football season. We will see you next time.